Welcome to the 28 Minutes of Heaven we call the D1 Baseball Weekend Preview Show. I am Aaron Matthew Fitt, alongside the great Kendall Rogers, and of course the Nerd Master, General Marcus W. Etheridge in the house. So good to see you, Mark. How are you tonight?
I'm awesome. It's always good to talk baseball with I guess preeminent college baseball analyst in the whole country. Wow. Well, I
Wow.
mean, just the country, not the world. But
Not the
there's
world.
there's
Well,
those we yeah, you guys can't hang with them. But for the U.S., I think you're up there.
Mark's feeling loopy already. I like this. I
For
like
the for the U.S., is that opposed to the German college baseball beat?
Well, you're probably you might be. Well, let's see how it goes tonight. All right, let's
we're,
don't be feeling cocky.
we're off.
I'm
That
just glad you're here with us. Last night I was sitting there watching the news, and all of a sudden I saw like 8 different
yeah,
tornado warnings on top of Mobile. So I was a little worried about you.
yeah, it almost blew us away. Everything in our house started going off, alerting us. You know how your phone goes off,
Yeah,
your security system goes off, your toaster goes off. Everything in the world that can alert you did last night.
It's what happens
it's
when you.
impossible to sleep through a tornado now.
It is impossible.
Aren't you glad you got that smart toaster, Mark?
I
That's
know,
the
right?
the
It's
appliance you always
often
needed.
overlooked in the whole safety protocol.
Yeah, your fridge tells you to get out of bed.
I know.
Well, tonight's show is brought to you by our brand new sponsors, S2
Yeah,
Cognition. So excited to have these guys in the fold. Stay tuned to future episodes. We're going to have a lot more information about S2, but they're doing some really exciting stuff and working with some great programs in college baseball. And we look forward to telling you guys more about that.
yeah.
So let's dive into the weekend preview here, guys. It's we're kind of into it now. You know, conference season is upon us. I think in pretty much every league now. I know we've got a Big Ten primer coming on the website tomorrow. I think most of the leagues are a couple of weeks in. We've got a big one, guys. I think we should probably start with the big one, and that is Kennesaw State at Florida Gulf Coast.
It's not
Um,
exactly where I thought you were going.
threw you a little curveball there, but no, I mean this is a neat
Yeah.
series in the ASUN. We'll touch on that later. We'll save that one for the end, cleanup spot maybe.
The best
Tennessee
for last.
Tennessee Vanderbilt, guys. This is
Yeah.
Hmm.
this is the big one. This is the one that everyone's buzzing about. Ticket prices through the roof, from what I understand. The Vols just have looked like a buzzsaw. They come in as number one team in the country. Vanderbilt's at home, coming off a series loss. What's our gut feeling about this series, boys?
Well, I think for me, is Tennessee going to go all year without losing an SEC series? Because going to Oxford and going to Nashville, that would be the most likely places to lose, right? Are they going to get through that unscathed and then maybe drop one at home? I don't know, but the way they're playing right now, I can't pick against them. Right? They're just demolishing everyone in their path, and I know Vandy's different, but still, um, I thought Ole Miss was different, and they didn't have any trouble.
Yeah,
I've got to go Vols here.
and if you look ahead on their schedule, I would say the biggest remaining test after this is probably at Florida toward the end of
Yeah,
April. Other than that, I mean, they've got Missouri at home and Alabama at home the next 2 weeks, favorable matchups. They've got Auburn at home. That's a favorable matchup. At Kentucky, they've got Georgia at home, and they finish at Mississippi State. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they could run the table. But this is the one right here that
hmm
I think is going to trip them up. I think Vanderbilt. Um, it's been kind of quietly having a really nice season. I know they had a setback last week, but I mean, they got a good club, and their pitching has materialized. And we all knew they had some big shoes to fill from last year, but I think with Chris McIlvain and Carter Holton, it's a pretty good 1-2 punch. I know they're trying different things on Sundays. I guess last week it was Saturday, the series finale against South Carolina. Started Bryce Cunningham. I don't know if they've announced the rotation. Have they announced a Sunday starter for this week?
I haven't seen one.
Yeah. Well, we'll be interested to see what they do there. But I mean, they've just got so much depth they can mix and match you. I think they're going to be up for this series. I think they're going to be hyper focused. It's going to be at
Yeah.
home. It's going to be, a pretty hostile atmosphere. Now, Tennessee went to Ole
hmm
Miss last week and played in front of a big crowd, and we're not phased. But I don't know. Rivalry series. I just have a feeling about Vandy in this one.
Yeah, I'll say this. Having been to plenty of Tennessee Vandy related games. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you right now that Tennessee's winning, there might be as much orange in that place as there is black and gold, just because of all the Tennessee fans in the Nashville area and just the excitement around that program right now. But I have no doubt that Vanderbilt's going to play well. I think we all, as we saw, with Texas against South Carolina's got the ability to beat teams in Columbia. Carter Holton had a bad start there. I don't see Holton having a back-to-back bad starts and Vanderbilt having back-to-back bad weekends in terms of their level of play. With that said, I am going Vols in a very well-played series. I just think when you look at Tennessee with the way the rotation is set up, all of a sudden you've got Blake Tidwell, who is 96, 97 out of the bullpen. Coming out of their bullpen as the middle relief guy to set up Kirby Cannell and Redmond Walsh and those guys. I mean, it's just hard to pick against Tennessee in the way they're playing right now. And the other thing I would say, too, and we kind of touched on it on the podcast earlier in the week, is, if you're Tony Vitello, and I get it, like you want to win every series, but if you're Tony Vitello, like having a weekend where you get tripped up may not be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to go through the whole regular season and just smoke everybody, because then I just feel like your team just expects to dominate everybody going to the postseason, and we know how that can turn out.
Well, along those same lines, and I don't want to end up in a hype video like someone we know, but I do think that Tennessee last week kind of went into it as the underdog, and now they're the hunted, right? Everyone's going to get their best shot the rest of the way, and it starts this weekend. So that, I mean, that's an awesome storyline from, in our world, where you're looking for cool things to write about. This is awesome, right? This is what we want.
Am I the only one that's like a little disappointed this series isn't in Knoxville?
Well, I mean, I'm just glad it's not in Williamsport. We'll see how the Vols do once you get out of that little league field.
Hey, just to let everybody know, Aaron's Twitter handle is @AaronFitt, @AaronFitt.
That was just from Mike Rooney, the great Mike Rooney, who put his foot in his mouth last week.
Vol Twitter ate him alive.
Vol Twitter
didn't want that smoke. He did not want it.
Vol Twitter, that was sarcasm on my part. Please leave me alone. But no, the ball does fly in Knoxville. We all know that. But I mean, this is certainly a place where you can hit some home runs too, and especially to left field with that short porch. I mean, the bottom line is the way Tennessee's pitching. I mean, that pitching travels. I don't know if it matters where they play if they continue to pitch the way they have. I mean, it's absurd how good that pitching staff is, and of course they hit also. I mean, right now they just do everything well. They're 24-1 for God's sake. It's absurd.
Yeah,
I can see why their fans were upset.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a rough go.
That one loss.
That's right. Elsewhere in the SEC this week, gentlemen, we've got number 14 Florida traveling to Athens, number 23 Georgia. Kind of a big series in the East for both of these clubs coming off series losses. It seems like Florida might shake up their pitching a little bit here. I think I saw Brandon Sprode is not in the projected rotation this week.
Yes. By the way, I talked to Sully about that earlier. So essentially what they're going to do is if they I can't tell who's in the game now. It's on the small screen over here. But he said that if Sprode doesn't throw out of the bullpen today, he will start tomorrow.
Okay.
So he's not hurt or anything like that.
That's good to know. And right now, the score in Athens is 2-2. So still time to make your picks without.
Is that Barco starting tonight?
He did, yeah.
Okay.
Cannon did not. Cannon's going tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I was going to say this is a pecking order kind of game in the East. We've talked about how strong the East looks. Early in the year, maybe even stronger than the West, which is sacrosanct. You can't say that. So I think that what we're talking about here is Georgia has the opportunity. They took the series from Mississippi State. They've shown they can handle the big stage. Now they get Florida, who's arguably more talented than Mississippi State this year. Can they handle this big moment? And because Florida, they got humbled. Those last couple of games last weekend with LSU hit them in the mouth, right? So you got to figure Florida comes out. They need this series to kind of get right and feel good about where they are. So it's a fun series. I think we'll learn a lot about both these clubs through this Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is Florida. Long term, your goal if you're Florida is to get to the postseason and get to Omaha. And for this team to be able to do that, they're going to have to give Hunter Barco help. Hunter Barco is the top pitcher in college baseball right now. But guess what? A 3-game series, you have to win 2 games. And, outside of Hunter Barco, their week in rotation last week did not throw very well. So I think for Florida, this weekend for me is about kind of reestablishing that week in rotation, kind of moving forward in the SEC.
And so do you try some different things knowing that, the goal is, June, right? Do you try to get right
Sure.
in early April to get there? And maybe you give up some ground to do so.
And Sully's never been shy about doing that. He's someone who likes to build his pitching depth early in the season. They'll typically use a lot of different arms in the midweek games, kind of experiment and get guys some experience and figure out which ones they can trust by the time you get to the games that really matter in June. And so, yeah, I think you're onto something there, Mark. I'll be curious to see what they try here. Georgia, started Garrett Brown tonight, gave him 3 innings, and now they're into their bullpen. So, curious to see how their pitching kind of shakes out with, I think Liam Sullivan's still out this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. They're waiting for him to get back. That's a key piece, without Dylan Ross and without Will Childers for the rest of the year, 2 really important arms on that staff. The big reason that we were so high on Georgia coming into the season was because of their arms and certainly the experience in their lineup. Also, they're old, but you take out 2 of the better arms they got, and that changes the complexion a little bit. So curious to see how they handle that. And then the other SEC game going on right now, by the way, Auburn up 6-2 on LSU. How about that one?
LSU continues to kick the ball around.
And of course, go ahead.
Yeah, they've got to field the ball better. They've got to catch it and field it. That's the bottom line. Everyone loves their offense. They're going to score runs. Their pitching has been, up and down, but the one constant this year is they have struggled defensively, and they're doing so again tonight. That's the game I'm watching, and Auburn can hit the ball, but LSU's helping them. That's what LSU has to solve if they're going to play for a championship.
And Blake Money started that game and gave up 5 earned runs for the Tigers.
One inning killed him.
That's right, 6 runs in the 5th. So there you go.
Defense.
Auburn's a team that I still think is frisky here, and I think they're a little short on frontline pitching, like most teams, in the SEC and everywhere else.
Agreed.
But they do have
they can swing it.
They can swing it some, and we've talked a lot about Blake Rambush and Sonny DeShera, 2 really key additions that have made that lineup better. But I'm getting all kinds of good views of Kendall right now.
Wow, right. He's got multiple.
I'm trying to figure out my webcam here. My webcam's having some issues.
Camera 2.
Yeah. You heard the video crew for tonight. I, on the other hand, did not.
That's right. Let's go to some other matchups, non-SEC variety. Georgia Tech UVA, number 22 Yellow Jackets, number 4 Cavaliers. Obviously, Virginia is the heavy favorite here. I think almost all of our staff picked the Cavs. I went with a gut call here and picked Georgia Tech just because I think
that surprised me.
Yeah, I just think that this is one of those weekends. They're kind of, it's not back to the wall time for them, but they need it. They're licking their wounds a little bit here, coming off getting swept at NC State. I like the fact they got their bats going in the midweek. They had lost that series to Wake Forest at home before that. And, again, it's another one of those teams that, like, are they going to pitch enough? I don't know, but I have a feeling those bats are going to heat up fast. And it just feels like this is an opportunity against the Virginia staff that's very left-handed. Georgia Tech has really dangerous right-handed bats. I kind of like the matchup for Tech, and I just think that they're going to play hungry as an underdog and go up there and kind of sneak up on people. We'll see. And, the other thing is Virginia, I don't know what they're going to do on Sunday. Again, I haven't checked the probables there, but Neek has struggled the last couple of weeks on Sunday. Are they going to shake it up in their rotation? Right now, they seem just a little bit vulnerable in that game 3 of a series.
Yeah, you just gave us 17 minutes of analysis on this, and really what it comes down to is everyone else picked Virginia, and you don't want to be you picked Georgia Tech, so you want to be that one guy that gets tweeted to this weekend about, you believed in us. you believed in the Jackets this weekend. Be honest.
I've been that guy a lot this year. It's worked out pretty well.
I know
for me.
it. I know it. It turns out that I need to start copying your picks or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, Virginia's playing so well right now. That's why I went with them. Georgia Tech, I don't know what I'm going to get from week to week, especially on the mound. I mean, they may give up 27. I mean, they've done it before. So I just have more confidence because I've seen the track record that Virginia provides.
Yep, that's certainly fair. Kendall, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'm with Virginia. I watched them a couple of games last weekend. I just really, really like their level of play. Georgia Tech is not a team that I feel like is very consistent. Virginia, on the other hand, is very consistent, and I think being at home, I like Virginia's chances quite a bit.
Another ACC matchup here between ranked teams. We got number 16 Notre Dame at number 5 Florida State, and again, this is a spot where Notre Dame needs to get right now. You know, they're all of a sudden they hadn't scuffled in 2 years, basically. It seems like. I mean, and they head into this thing coming off back to back. I guess back to back series losses technically. I mean, they only played one game against Virginia Tech, but they lost it, so that counts as a series loss. But before that, they got swept at Louisville. Seminoles, it just feels like their starting pitching gives them such a high floor. You know, it's like it's just almost like an unsinkable buoy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't have to play their sharpest baseball all weekend and they can still take 2 out of 3, which they've done. They haven't swept a lot of people. I don't know if they swept anybody, but they they win 2 out of 3 because their pitching is just so good.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I mean, the pitching is the story there. Notre Dame was a club. I mean, I think a lot of us are pretty high on as maybe a month ago, and now we're kind of questioning where they are. So, as you said, this is a get right weekend, but that's a tough place to get right against a really good staff, and you're not going to get a lot of meatballs, right? So you're going to have to earn it if you're going to put up some crooked numbers.
Yeah, I just think if you look at Notre Dame, where have they struggled? It's on the back end of the bullpen. Their starting pitching hasn't been great the last couple of weeks, and just like Louisville, and Mark kind of alluded to it, Dick Hauser is not the place you want to go into and be struggling on the mound. And so I think this is kind of one of those weekends where a guy like Alex Terrell can get rolling against that pitching staff of Notre Dame. I agree with Aaron on the pitching staff for Florida State. When you look at Bryce Hubbard, Parker Messick, I watched a little bit of his start last week.
Yeah.
I mean, that fastball just really jumps on you. It's actually kind of interesting pitch. Like, I'm trying to think of the last guy that I've seen where the fastball just blows up a hitter like it does with Parker Messick. And I just think they kind of match up well with Notre Dame's offense. So I like Florida State.
Yeah, if I could just take a little side route here, how fun would it be if you get that Florida State game that we saw Tuesday night, but it's on Friday? I mean, just think about that pitching matchup.
Yeah, I don't know. Decent. I don't know why we can't get that to happen.
That would be sign me up. Who do we need to lobby to?
Well, I mean, Florida State will probably be in the SEC in the next 5 years. Maybe we can expedite it.
Are we just going to go for like a 30-team SEC? Is that where this is headed?
Won't even be the SEC. It'll just be just the big boys, right?
Just gobble them all up.
USC and on the West Coast will be in the SEC.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. We've got out west this week, Oregon at UCLA. I think is probably the most intriguing series. I mean, Stanford at Oregon State.
Yeah,
Stanford and Oregon State was the one that probably everyone circled on their calendars heading into the season. But right now, I feel like Oregon and UCLA is more intriguing. I mean, the way Oregon is swinging the bats and UCLA coming off a nice weekend last week, it feels like they've kind of figured it out. What do we think about this series?
Yeah, it's blondes or brunettes. Which one do you prefer? But I think with UCLA Oregon, the thing is UCLA has those top end wins. That's they played so well in Houston. I guess Kendall, you saw that, but I think that for me sticks in my mind when I look at these two teams and who has the higher ceiling, right? So doesn't mean they're going to win week to week, but if I'm trying to find a differentiator between the two, I mean that's it for me.
Yeah, I think Oregon's very offensive. I think they're a better offensive team. than UCLA by a wide margin. With that said, I picked UCLA because I just looked back at last weekend. I saw those guys as Shriners, but I look back at last weekend and the way they went on the road and handled a very potent Arizona offense.
Yeah.
I think as they go back to Jackie Robinson, which is an even more pitcher-friendly ballpark than High Corbett, I think that gives them a lot of confidence going against that hard-hitting lineup of Oregon. I think Oregon's still trying to find its way a little bit on the mound. I like UCLA. I think UCLA at home right now is in a better spot than Oregon. I think if the series in Eugene, I would take Oregon.
And I like the momentum factor with UCLA. Just if you look at the recent play, they've won 5 of their last 6 games. Seem like they're playing well in all phases. The bats have kind of started to get going some. They're really pitching well. They're defending well. So coming off a nice midweek win against Santa Barbara as well, UCLA. So yeah, it seems like they've kind of figured it out. I mean, some of those young guys that they're playing, there's been some growing on the fly with some of those guys, but others like Thatcher Hurd have just hit the ground running, and that guy is a dude. His numbers this year are crazy, and really high profile freshman that has stepped right into the weekend, kind of like those Tennessee guys we keep talking about. He's done kind of the same thing out west. So, I'm with you here, gentlemen. I like the Bruins at home, but wouldn't surprise me if Oregon goes in there and puts up some runs because it seems like they can score anywhere right now. They're one of those offenses. They're really dangerous and deep. So neat series there. Does anyone give Stanford a chance up in Corvallis?
Well, certainly they're so talented, right? That's the thing. We talked about a high end, right? Where's your ceiling? Stanford is one of those high ceiling clubs. It's just Oregon State has been a better team, right? And they've been certainly more consistent. It's not that they're not talented, but they've actually, parlayed that talent into victories, and that's where Stanford is, still kind of finding their way, right? They're Stanford to me is a team that I would not want to see in the postseason lined up against, because if they figure it out, they are trouble. But as for right now, I don't want any part of Oregon State. I mean, they've been the Pac-12's best team.
No question.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon State's playing at such a high level. And the thing that's really exciting about the Beavs is the fact that, they haven't had, Jacob Finnings or Will Fritch for, was it 3 or 4 or 5 weeks, 4 weeks now? And they continue to win at a high level. Now, they're probably not getting Fritch back, but, Finnings will be back. So, I mean, they're not even at full strength across the board, and they're still winning with a lot of offense. So I like Oregon State, but I agree with Mark in the sense that Stanford's still dangerous. The weekend, the one weekend they had where they actually played like a top 5 team, it was a weekend I saw them. And, for them to be able to reach their goals, I look at 2 guys, fellas, Brock Jones, Drew Bowser. It's kind of interesting. We were going through our power rankings, and like it blew my mind, like how underwhelming Brock Jones's numbers were. Like, I think it was like 260 with like 1 home run or 2 home runs and like 7 RBIs. He's an All-American. He's got to have more production than that. Drew Bowser, I think, is hitting in the mid 270s with very limited power production. So as you look ahead, those 2 guys need to step up. And the other thing for me too is I feel pretty good about the rotation still. I think I'm pretty confident in the rotation. But the back end of that bullpen, they're still relying a lot on Joey Dixon, Tommy O'Rourke, and Braden Montgomery. And so, those 3 guys are good. They're not great, and they have been inconsistent. So back into the bullpen and circle Bowser and Jones. They're pretty important.
And circle Alex Williams, who did not pitch well last week against Washington State. They did get good work out of Quinn Matthews and Drew Dowd. So you're right. I think overall I still feel okay about that rotation, but need a bounce back from Alex Williams in a tough matchup on the road against a very good Oregon State offense. So here's one I'm really excited about. Louisiana Tech at Southern Miss. What a fun matchup this is in Conference USA.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to head over there Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think
what could be the rubber.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Nice.
So, those to me, those are the 2 best teams. Yeah, sorry. We're having a little internet thing here. But to me, those are the 2 top teams in Conference USA. And, I mean, whoever wins that league is going to have a great shot to host. And this weekend is going to go a long way to that, as obviously the Conference USA tournament did last year. But I think that, for me, both of these clubs have the moxie, I guess would be the right word, and the swagger, right, to contend. And it's going to, I can't help but think it's going to come down to that Sunday game. And you look at the Sunday matchup with Waldrop versus whoever La Tech ends up going with, or TBA right now. But that's the advantage. Plus, playing at home, I like Southern Miss to take that basically because of, the Sunday pitching matchup and the home field.
Yeah, and that Southern Miss rotation, I mean, all three of those guys,
Mm-hmm.
Tanner Hall and Hunter Riggins and Waldrop, I mean, they're all good. Their bullpen's really good and deep. But the key is they really got their bats going. And again, it was, Western Kentucky in a hitter-friendly environment. It's a favorable hitting context there for Southern Miss, but they scored a lot of runs last weekend. 3 straight games in double digits. I thought it was huge to get Slade Wilkes back going because he's such a talented guy, a power threat that hadn't really done a whole lot in his career to this point. And then he had 5 home runs last week or something.
Yeah.
Chris Sargent went bananas for him.
Week.
Yeah. And it's another team. It's like, wait till the count gets going. Gabe Montenegro, he's had kind of a slow first 6 weeks. There's still upside with that offense, I think, as he kind of finds his footing too. So yeah, it's I like Southern Miss here at home, but that La Tech team is very good. They're very experienced. They got a real ace in Jonathan Fincher. That's got to be such a fun series, Mark. I'm jealous that you're going to be there for part of it.
Yep.
Yeah, there's not a lot of love lost between those two programs. And, I just think the biggest thing for me is Southern Miss, I think, is pitching better. And, the other thing you mentioned, Christopher Sargent, I want to say, he was our National Player of the Week this week. And I want to say that was all of his home runs for the whole season is what he hit last week.
Right.
I think he has 5 home runs, and he hit 5 home runs last week. So it'll be interesting to see if he can kind of take that week he had and get on a roll here along with Slade Wilkes.
I'm trying to remember. You guys may correct me here. Didn't these teams play like 11 times or something last year? Because they had like 4-game series, and then they played 3 times in the conference tournament. It was just
they played like 11 times. They played a lot.
Yeah, and they played like a 14-inning game or something where like the left fielder came in to pitch at one point.
Yeah, he's a shortstop. Yeah, and he was throwing like 98.
Oh yeah.
We've got a couple of questions in the chat about Arkansas and Mississippi State. We have not talked about this series yet. And it's funny that it seems kind of absurd that this is an afterthought series right now because Mississippi State is not the team that everyone thought they would be at this point in the season. But Arkansas, despite, losing Peyton Paulette and kind of getting off to a sluggish start offensively, Arkansas hasn't really stumbled this year. And, they're sitting here number 2 in the rankings. They're 19-4. They're 5-1 in the league. They're at home. And Mississippi State is maybe starting to get it together a little bit, coming off a big series win against Alabama, a tight series, a couple of 1-run games. I liked what I saw from Preston Johnson and Parker Sonnet those first 2 games, maybe starting to give them that stability in the rotation. Do we give Mississippi State a shot here to go into Fayetteville?
Yeah, I think you have to. I mean, with Mississippi State, they're the kind of club you have to step on their neck if you've got them down, right? Because they're going to keep fighting, they're going to keep coming back, and I think that's the thing with them. I mean, they're going to be in a lot of games because their offense is so good, and if it's close late, I mean, they're just so confident. They've had so much success. I mean, that's going to be a difficult environment, right? But I do like Arkansas to take that series.
Yeah, I feel better about Arkansas on the mound right now. It's kind of crazy to think about because I think coming into the season, I think we all had Arkansas's kind of number 3 spot in the rotation, a little up in the air. Frankly, the number 1 spot without Paulette. But, Connor Nolan's thrown really well. I think the biggest key for him is his curveball's gotten much sharper, at least it was the weekend I saw him. Jackson Wiggins, interesting enough, has been pretty consistent. And Hagen Smith is ultra talented. So, outside of Preston Johnson, Cade Smith has some definite upside for Mississippi State, but I just feel a lot more comfortable in Fayetteville with Arkansas's weekend rotation. But I'll say this too. Arkansas has yet to really play a great weekend. They have not been ultra impressive any weekend this year. You kind of wonder if maybe this is that weekend.
Yeah, if you recall last year, they had Mississippi State's number in Starkville,
Yeah. Lamona's 0-6 against Arkansas.
That's right. Yeah, it's something they always get up for this weekend. the other guy, I mean, I mentioned before, but Parker Sonnet is a guy that has a lot of upside. He talked about
Mhm.
upside. I mean, it's a
Mhm.
premium breaking ball. It's a really fast arm. A guy that hadn't started a lot. He was a bullpen guy, kind of a afterthought guy last year. But as he starts to gain confidence, I look for him to have a big second half for Mississippi State because the stuff is big time. I mean, it's one of the better breaking balls in college baseball. And when he can command that thing and land it for a strike, he's really good. I mean, I think I saw him in the fall, and it was like 3 innings. They might have struck out 8 guys, and like almost all of them were with that ridiculous slide piece he had going. So, X factor guy for me. Keep an eye on him, and I think as he gets comfortable and can give him more length, that takes a lot of burden off the bullpen too. So, uh, definitely an intriguing series over there, guys. Anything else we want to?
No,
We got a
not
visit
now,
from
man.
Maddie back there.
Yeah, she's trying to get
She has something she wants
me to
to
go on eBay and buy something random.
That might be our cue.
She had some thoughts on Arkansas.
That might be our cue to
probably.
wrap it up. My dog's trying to get me to let her outside. Things aren't going well here. Gentlemen, a pleasure as always. Well, what we need is next week we need to bring Mike Rooney back, bring some professionalism to this ragtag operation here. I mean, but that said, what we need is Runes to maybe sub in for me, Mark, because you always bring the professionalism.
I bring
you're
the fun.
man.
If we wanted professionalism, we would have just made sure Shock was on here.
Yeah,
That's right.
I don't know that professionalism's what we need.
Yeah, me neither. Guys, this was fun. Thank you, Marcus, for joining us. Kendall, always a pleasure. And we'll do it again next week. Until then.